Good morning, everyone. I'm Ramanujam, and it's a pleasure for me to you. Yeah, we have to hold it close. I know. It's like, yeah. Good morning. I'm Ramanujam, and it's a pleasure for me to welcome you all to this panel discussion in CTIS. This is a panel discussion on AI and CT curriculum implementation. Um, Yesterday, the response to Ms. Jane Wade's talk saw, I think, and after that there were many discussions. We could see everybody is very much interested in what these opportunities with AI, and there are a lot of apprehensions. There is talk. So I think this panel is perhaps timely, looking at this, and especially in this conference on computational thinking in schools. Now, with the promotion of AI in schools, how do these things relate? And a very large number of people here are teachers, computing teachers in schools. And so whatever AI teaching means is going to come to the computing teachers. So how do we look at this? How do we respond to this? So there is a lot of question in these things. So this panel is intended to raise a few questions, probably not answer all of them, but at least try to provide a perspective that we all have on these, and perhaps raise questions for everybody to think about and acquire clarity in the years to come. So what we thought was that we would raise certain questions that the panel would address, and we had an email discussion on that. And so, for instance, the most fundamental question is, should AI be taught in school at all? And if yes, at what stage? And as a separate subject or integrated into existing curriculum? And then integrated into what? How? Integration into curriculum is something that's easy to say, but what do we really mean? How do computational thinking and artificial intelligence relate to each other? Yesterday, we heard Jane Wade talk about CT 1.0 and CT 2.0, right? And she was trying to say that unplugged activities belong in CT 1.0, AI and data-driven activities belong in CT 2.0. Well, that's one perspective. So from the panel, we'd like to hear on how should CT curricula be reworked in light of AI? And if yes, how? Or should they not? How do we respond to the use of AI tools in school curriculum? AI tools for teachers to use, for children to use? What are the benefits? What are the red flags? What are the things that we need to watch out for, and what are the potential? And then about what does it mean for us as teachers? What kind of teacher preparation is needed for use of AI tools? And it's also true that almost anybody, and certainly true for gray-haired people like me, but even for younger ones like you, that whatever computing that you learned as an undergraduate and what AI is bringing in, things are changing. It's very dynamic. It's really fast. So as a teacher, how do I cope with all this stuff, right? And so what teacher preparation is needed? And while we are simply, we are very proud of, Vipul was talking about this yesterday, that 9 years, and we are very proud of computational thinking in schools. 9 years is extremely young, right? Compared to whatever happens in school. We are just barely settling down to understanding computational thinking and its implementation. Now AI comes, right? And we and there is also this apprehension that before we even understand it, new stuff will come, and administrators, educators, organizers will come and tell us to do all sorts of things. How do we react? Yeah. So I think these are the kind of things that bother us in various ways, but we have a very distinguished panel here. We have Mr. Ajinkya Ambarkhane. So let's welcome Ajinkya. Then we have Arpita Karkare, Anay Kamath, and Manisha Yadav. So they bring in very different viewpoints and experiences and to this area. and it's going to be a pleasure to listen to them. So the way we have structured the panel is that each panelist will make a short presentation on their viewpoints related to these, and then we'll have another short round of the panelists responding to each other, and then we'll open it up for general discussion. So please note down any points that you have in mind so that you can raise it in the open discussion. So we'll start first with Ajinkya. He's the director of strategy and development in Mege Group of Schools. He has 16 years of experience and more than a decade of experience as a director in school operations. Um, he's his specialty is innovations in educational technologies, enhancing student outcomes, and spearheading strategic expansions. And especially something that's very important to this panel is that he has been thinking about integrating technology and AI integration in school education. And so we look forward to Ajinkya's viewpoints on these.
Thank you, Jam. First of all, I would like to thank organizers for giving us this chair. It reminds us of the very fundamental aspect that we are learning throughout life. So thank you so much for actually choosing these chairs for us. And Jam, before actually moving to AI, let's try to break some ice because AI has become the buzzword and it's a thick ice when we see from the lens of a teacher, and moreover when a teacher wants to teach it to students. So let's try to break this ice first. Let's set a context and then maybe we actually go to the panel. So when we say AI, let's go a layer down. We all have used autocorrect. We are all more or less representing a generation who got hands on mobile in early 2000. We got to learn how autocorrect works on mobile, which further when we started using Microsoft Word was a better version of autocorrect. Now what exactly is autocorrect? It's a sub domain of AI using ML and using very large data set coming from whom? From us. It learns from what we type and it collects a database and it becomes a predictive. So it's a very, I would not say autocorrect is an AI, but it's a very early version of a technology which started us transiting from where we were to AI today. Now what are the benefits? It increased our efficiency. We were making lesser mistakes. From students point of view, they could write better. Also it comes with some drawbacks. The drawbacks where we started forgetting spellings. Students just write keywords. They use word tools like Grammarly to create a sentence out of it. So comprehension became little. We were actually smarter when we were up till grade 5, I believe strongly. And the more we grow, we go down. So let's not go delve into that area. But so now see, in 20 years from autocorrect, Grammarly came in, Alexa came in, Siri came in. They listen to you based on the data they comprehend, they give you output. They are all predictive models. Again, a better version than autocorrect, a lower version than AI, which now followed by Amitabh Bachchan of technology in AI, which was ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is actually someone who is making AI more famous. But see, it is inevitable. It is not for us to decide whether we want to teach AI to students or not. We have to. More important question for us would be how do we actually take it? I mean, CS Pathshala has fundamentally done an excellent job helping us out with computational thinking, where we break down problems in smaller components, think logically, organize, which is the very fundamental also for the AI. So when we see it from the school's context, AI is going to be there as a special subject or not is a debatable question for some school setups. There is a possibility of a special subject, but you all are teachers. I have seen how teachers work around, so carving out an additional period is another big time challenge. So what should be the approach is something we can always discuss. What my personal opinion on this front would be, computational thinking up till grade 5 has done excellent job. It can further topped up with the concepts of AI. Gamification is already there in computational thinking. Bias is something which is a very important aspect of AI, which I think first we have to have a rigorous training for teachers and then via teachers to students, because it is something which is going to come big time. I mean, for fun, we generally do this exercise. If you all have your iPhones and if the internet is on, if you search for a typical Indian road photograph on ChatGPT or Meta, can you guess what you will get? You can try right now. It's a 30-second activity. So if you see, it will give you a picture of a road which is paved properly, tarmac road. It has footpath on it. You will see some shops. You can try this now or in the break. But is that the fact in India? I mean, there are only 12% roads like that. 70% roads are rural. They are tarmac roads, but not that perfect. Now, see, this is a bias. Where this is coming from all the photos that were uploaded to the model. Similarly, the way we understand this, it is our responsibility as administrators and teachers that when we take teaching AI to students, we should act as guideline or lighthouse for them to teach where are the fences, so they can understand with the bias. Because while I was doing my MBA, I got to learn that there are 16 types of biases and they are still finding more, which was a surprise. So we are generally aware of only one or two. So I think our role as a teacher would be more on uh, creating a boundary wall and explaining the importance of the boundary wall for students in AI. I think that would be my honest opinion. So yes, we have to teach AI again. How do we go about it? Can be a contextual question based on region and at the level of students across.
Thanks very much, Ajinkya. That was a very brief but very clear presentation of the main problem. Um, we'll next have Dr. Arpita Karkare continuing the discussion. She's chief mentor and co-founder and active working director at Walnut School. She's also the co-founder of the Millennium National School. She has a PhD in education and she has a certificate in school management and leadership from Harvard Business School. And she's been working in urban schools as well as rural schools. And something that I'm very intrigued by is the Wise Buddha project that I read about. And she's got the state government's Dattaji Didolkar Shikshan Seva Saman. So we have a distinguished panelist here telling us about um, what it means for teacher preparation for AI. How do how should teachers look at AI in this context?
Hi. So my view is a little different from what was just discussed. Because if you actually look at what AI is, I mean, if you want, my thought about this is a very simple analogy. Like you have a guitar, and without tuning it, you can strum a few strings and say, "Maine guitar bajaya." And you can learn how the guitar works and learn how to read off sheet music and play it very well, and still say, "Ki maine guitar bajaya." You can be able to listen to music and play it on your own and still say that you have played the guitar. Everybody's still saying that they have played the guitar. And you can be composing excellent music or crappy music and still say you're playing the guitar. And if you can compose music and make hit songs and understand what people like and what will go together and visualize it and tweak it and keep making changes where people are ready to pay for you when you become rich and popular, you are still playing the guitar. So I think that is what AI is used very, very loosely when people say they're using AI or they're learning AI. That is one thing. Using AI and learning AI are also mixed up in many cases. When you teach somebody how to use AI, you may feel that you're teaching them about AI. It's like using any other app, and you can use it like that whole guitar spectrum that there is. But if you look at learning AI, it is so mathematical. And the mathematics that AI uses starts from 11th grade onwards forward. If you, I mean, the word is also a little misleading for the common man. I mean, I had to read up about it also. So I don't know if you know about this or not, but it seems like from the word and from the way you use it that it's learning from us as we go along, which is not the case. teaching, giving a data set, feeding in all the data, like when the application recognizes that this is the picture of a dog, it is not all of us that are actually teaching it. There is a deliberate effort, like 20,000 pictures of different dogs are shown to the engine. And then it is explained that this is a dog, or when it's going through reviews to classify whether a certain review is a good review or a bad review. And most of the cases, that is like the minimum number. When it's recognizing handwriting, so many samples have been fed into it. It is checked what the results are, it is corrected, and then it comes to us. So when I give it an instruction and it gives me a response, and then I say, no, no, this is not what I want it like this, or can you tweak it like this, or this is, I like this, can we work on this further? I am not teaching it. I am just making my instruction more specific, and it is giving me an output based on the amazing programming that has already been done at the back end. So in all of this context, we are all users of AI. Building the AI, the mathematics that goes into it is fairly advanced. If you look at the school level part of it, in school, it's kind of like around 8th grade when they start with some linear algebra and stuff like that, which they're actually already doing. So then comes in the part that if we want to still teach some part of AI, what are we going to teach in the school? Are we going to teach them how to use AI? Even then, it should not be some lame exercise that is happening. So wherein the challenges come. So now what I'm going to say, I needed to set this kind of background before a little bit to make sure that what I'm saying is absolutely understood by everybody. Otherwise, it's a little vague. So one thing is when you want to teach kids anything, now let's first assume that you have a period once a week to teach the kids something about AI, and you really, really want to, because if you at least don't have that subject in your school timetable somewhere, parents are going to come and ask, "आप AI नहीं सिखाते?" You cannot sit and explain this to everybody that the, you know, what AI is and everything. You're going to fall behind competition. So that school management is going to be on your case. Ki nahi, nahi, we have to have AI. If you're not going to do it, we'll get somebody else who does. So, okay, fine. We have to teach AI. So what are we going to do that is also meaningful? So I would say one of the things is kind of an extension of what CS Pathshala has already done, is understand that computational thinking is different from learning actual programming with the syntax. They're two different things. So similarly, the logic that goes into how AI works is something that kids can experience through different problems. So if you give, for example, if you're thinking about middle school, which is where students are interested, parents are somewhat interested in what their kids are doing, and they are at an age where you can somewhat communicate. First and second graders are too young, and after 8th standard, we've lost most of the kids to the teenage attitude and everything like that. And the board exam is pretty much all everybody's thinking about. So if you look at like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th standard level where we have somewhat of an interest in what is happening, if we give them a paragraph of a lot of information that we are describing, a very simple example would be we are describing how different animals are. And then we ask them, okay, now create a table or a flow chart in which you can put this in, like AI would. And then when this description is given, tell me what animal it is. So you have to, now your kids have to sit and work out on a flow chart, work out a flow chart. And then you can put in different descriptions of this, differently worded descriptions of the same things that you have given, and check whether the output is coming out right. That is one of the things that, so examples like this are what would be great in a classroom. Now comes in the challenge that these kids are sitting through lectures day after day, listening to what the social studies teacher is saying, what the science teacher is saying. And if this class is like any other, why are they going to be engaged and why are they going to pay attention? And actually, if this is done right, you're going to see results across the board in all subjects, because you're actually making connections in their brain happen. They're thinking and processing, which is not something they're used to. Everywhere else, we have static information that is given. We are teaching them a concept in science and then asking them question answers related to that concept. So this is somewhere where you're saying, hey, I am giving you something. You figure out how you're even going to solve this. I'm not giving you any theory at all, which is what you're doing. So these classes have to be structured in a way that they are interested. They're eagerly waiting. When is the next AI class? I'm looking forward to it is the first thing, which is very difficult to get out of kids because they are getting their dopamine fixes literally everywhere they go right now. There's sugary junk food that they're having. There's all these video games that they're playing and stuff like so most of them are also sadly on social media as well. So it becomes very tricky that how are you going to keep them engaged in the classroom and interested, not zoning out. So if I'm assuming you all have like a 30-minute classroom period, now if you have 40 kids in a class, roughly, everybody, okay, so let's assume those constraints. In a class, if you want all 40 kids to take part, you would obviously have to have them work in groups. If you have to have them work in groups, if you have a group size of more than 4, 2 or 3 kids are going to carry everybody else. And a lot of the kids, if you have groups of 10, then 3 or 4 kids are going to work. The rest of them are going to chit chat and catch up on gossip and stuff like that. Right? What are the movies going on? What shows are you watching? What games did you play? So your optimum size would be roughly 4 in a group, where the way they are sitting, they can just. So you have groups of 4 and you give everybody a task. And if every group has to present at least for 1 minute, your last 10-15 minutes of your class are presentations. So you're left with the first 15 minutes of your class. So 5 minutes to explain the problem and 10 minutes to actually work on the problem in groups where you're not wasting time and kids getting up and going somewhere. 2 kids can just turn around and they form groups of 4. So those are the kind of assignments that need to be designed in the AI class, and that is going to get you the most engagement, kids looking forward to your class, wanting to take part, and everybody knows that they have to present. And when one group is presenting, the others can come and find errors. So if you start with say 10 points for every group, and with every error that is found out you reduce one, it also gets your gamification dopamine that they get in the classroom, which can then translate to the house points or whatever it is that you want. But when you bring something into the classroom and you want everybody to take part, just like using that guitar to have a whole hit concert, you have to think of so many things that are also not AI. Otherwise, you're not going to have a hit classroom period. And if it's not that, you're not actually getting across any educational value if the kids are not actively invested in that classroom period.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arpita. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, she's also moved to the how of the thing, and I think that's very important. And that's probably where all curricula get stuck in. And I'll bring one more thing later when we have our discussion. Um, let's now move to Anay. Anay Kamath is a software engineer with more than 18 years of experience. He's a co-founder of Present Software Technologies and also consultant for Equal Experts. Um, he's been part of a team designing and has been much involved in class 9, 10 computer science syllabus in Goa, and especially the use of open source tools, I think, in that. And he's been part of the CARES program for coding and robotics in schools in Goa. And so his, he says that all that work that we do is really to make high quality STEM education accessible to every child. And working with the state government and state government machinery on this is, I think, very important in what Anay is talking about. So Anay is going to tell us a little bit about, not earlier we were talking about what ought to be done or not to be done. And Anay is more about actually doing a particular program and, to explain that. Thank you.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Um, yeah, I was just listening to both the panelists, and there have been a lot of points that have been brought to our attention on what the AI is. I won't repeat most of those things, but uh, when we talk about bringing something in an education, right, we have to ask a basic question from the first principles, which is, what is it that the child is going to learn and what is it that the teachers are going to teach? There are two different concepts, right? Teaching and learning are not the same things, right? So first thing is, what is it that the child is going to learn? Because when you are measuring students, you are going to measure it based on what they are learning. And what is it that the teacher is going to teach? That's a separate measurement altogether. Now, why is this critical is because there is a saying, or there is not a saying, it's actually a well observed fact that you get what you measure. I'll just quickly mention an incident. So there used to be a town where there used to be like a lot of snakes. There used to cause a trouble. So government started an initiative and they said, you know what? If you catch the snakes and get it to us, right, we'll pay you so much, right? Government thought, you know what, that is going to solve the problem, but it actually tripled the problem. Because what people saw was, you know what, if I get the snakes, I'm going to get paid. So they started breeding snakes, right? So the same thing when we look at the education and we say, you know, we are going to teach you these things, and we are going to create an exam like these things, and we are going to give you marks for that. And if that is what your measure is, the child is going to ask the next simplest question, tell me what I'm supposed to buy heart and answer in the exam. I'm done with it. Right. And that is exactly what has been happening. So when we were designing this curriculum for coding and robotics education in school scheme, we had the same thing in mind, right? You know, what do you do? And that was one of the reason we took the exams out from the subject. So there are no exams, and there is assessments. They're in just different forms, but there are no exams. So the other major thing was we wanted to just ask this why, like, you know, why are we teaching coding to kids? Are we trying to make all of them computer engineers? I mean, like, definitely no, right? That's not the case. But why? Well, we had an answer. That could be a different discussion altogether. The next point was we started with the philosophy. It is okay to teach less, but not wrong, which basically means you have to, fine, you're teaching something, but you have to also be aware what the child is understanding out of it. I'll give an example of this, right? In science, there are science teachers, I guess, right here. So you might have taught that tides work because of the moon's attraction, and we draw a diagram. There is a circle which represents the Earth. Then there is an ellipse over it which represents an ocean, and moon is on one corner. Correct? Now, from your experience, just tell me how many times does a child raise a hand and ask, fine, you see, draw an ellipse over there showing how the water is getting pulled out. Well, on one end, the moon is there, so water is being pulled over there. Who's pulling the water on the other end? Did anyone ask that question? Where is the curiosity coming from? Right? Why is that happening? Because in the child's mind, I'm not blaming the teachers, I'm not blaming the student also. In the child's mind, his parents will see you have to score, huh? Right? And the child knows what is going to come. What is going to come is draw that diagram. Nobody is going to ask them, wow, who's the water pulling on the other end? Even the next big question, right? I have a glass of water. If moon can pull the whole, ocean up, why is my water in the glass not coming up? Right? So this is a curiosity part. And the same thing then goes with respect to AI also. And the next important point was we have to focus on awareness. At the school level, we have to focus on awareness. Speciality can come along with it. But if there is no awareness, and if you are not focusing on the awareness, the speciality can go wrong. Right? That was some of the points that we discussed when we were designing the curriculum for coding and robotics. There were a few things that we did because of that came from WISE. Like, for example, when we taught Scratch, one of the requirement that we asked specifically was the child should code without using variables. Right? Why variables? Is because variables don't form part of computational thinking. They form part of certain type of programming languages like C and others, for example. Algebra has variables, but they are not the variables that we talk about in C. Right? Otherwise, if you go by the variable in C, you will see a syntax like this: x is equal to x plus 1. Right? If I go by mathematical thinking over it, I can cancel x, and 1 becomes equal to 0. So just be careful on what we are trying to teach. Now, talking about AI, the field is absolutely new. Right? I am definitely not going to say I understand where it is going to go in future. One thing that is definitely there is AI is here to stay. So it is not going away. It is becoming a part of the life. And in one way or the other, it is going to impact in a better or in a good way all of us and our students who are going to aim for their career life, maybe 20 years down the line. It's going to impact them one way or the other. So the question is where that impact is going to come from and what we should tell them about it. Right? Now, just briefly, I'll mention this, right? there used to be a time, when we used to teach kids how do you solve a quadratic equation, right? Now that matters. I'm not saying that doesn't matter. It talks a lot about what mathematics really is. It's about organizing the patterns, making it intuitive to human mind so that you can break down a complex thing into smaller steps that we can solve. But there is also an aspect of it where we make kids go so much over it that we'll spend 2 years learning only like the quadratic equations, right? For example, and there are other practical aspects of it. We'll talk about that later. Now the question is, if we are saying AI is a separate subject, okay, I'm just giving an implication, okay? Then on one hand, the teacher is going to say, do this, do this, do this. Mathematics teacher is going to say, do this, do this, do this. And on the other hand, the teacher who is teaching the AI is going to say, student, start Google, take the photo, see it solves the question. And the child is going to ask, ma'am, why are we supposed to do this if the AI can do that, right? Doesn't it happen? Like it happens, that question happens. Right? Even if you put down the question, right, doesn't mean that it goes away from there. It happens with the calculators. It is definitely going to happen with the AI. So I don't have an answer. Should it be a separate subject? Should it be an integrated thing? My preference would be it should be integrated with the other things, right? Like for example, yes, you are doing this mathematics, right? Fine. You have now learned this. Can you find out what all complicated things you can do with it? Maybe you can't multiply a lot of big numbers. Maybe you can do it with this. Or you've drawn something, right? Good, you've drawn, right? You try to draw a horse as good as possible from a paper. Now, can you take a picture of this using an AI and ask AI to make some beautiful scenery out of it? Could be like a next step. It could be integrated in one way or the other. The way my son does it, or he started doing it, was, hey, Alexa, can you play national anthem? Right? And that's how he by-hearted national anthem for the first time. So maybe something having tools like this or devices like this, they're cheap, right? And the best thing is you don't even need to buy Alexa. It's there on your phone, right? You can say, hey, Google, hey, Alexa, Siri, whatever, and it is going to work with that. So there are these tools, get started with that. We can get this awareness going from the primary level. And we can then, over the period, develop our own understanding and learning and see how we can do it for higher education. Yeah, that's what I wanted to convey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, yeah, starting with tools and going on to is, I think, a really important observation. Of course, the problem is which tools, who decides? I mean, Alexa comes from the market. It doesn't come from education, right? So I think, there is always this worry that, we are always, there are tools coming to us all the time. And which ones do we pick as educationists? These questions keep popping up all the time. But I think the pathway that you're talking about, I think, is very important. We now have Ms. Manisha Yadav on the panel. She's the head of mathematics at SART Maharashtra, and she's has extensive experience in teaching in schools and in teacher education as well. And it's remarkable that she's a rank holder from, I think, in both B.Ed and M.Ed, right? And I think that's what you said. And she's been involved in several projects of the state government, like the International School Project, Model School Project, and so on. So extensive experience in the SART framework, and something that she didn't mention, which is also textbooks, I'm sure. I think, writing textbooks is an extremely difficult thing. And especially when books that reach lakhs and lakhs of children and affects the daily lives of thousands of teachers, and all you're given is a few pages that and print material, which is very, very rigid. So I think translating many of these things into systems, we'll have to really think about what it will mean in terms of actually what it will mean as text, which after all rules our lives as teachers, right? Whatever you may say, finally, I think textbooks, assessments, grades, all these things rule our lives. So it's good to have Manisha with her experience talking about.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. As a government officer, here I am. While making any policy decision, we should think about who will prepare and future-ready citizen who act ethically, who think critically, and who will ready for future India. एंड पॉलिसी डिसीजन बनाते समय मैं आपसे हिंदी में बात करना चाहूंगी, क्योंकि जो भी गवर्नमेंट के पॉलिसी डिसीजन होते हैं उस समय मास लेवल पे डिसीजन लेना पड़ता है, not only for the limited students, not only for the limited schools, because uh, various schools are from various regions and various difficulties they are facing. Policy AI and CT, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की हम बात कर रहे हैं, कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन करिकुलम रिफॉर्म में जब हम करिकुलम रिफॉर्म करते हैं तब उसके बारे में हमें सोचना पड़ता है, क्योंकि एज अ गवर्नमेंट हर एक स्कूल में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है क्या नहीं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं, टीचर की कैपेसिटी है क्या नहीं, और ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हम प्रोवाइड करते समय पीपी पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप कर सकते हैं क्या, उसके थ्रू हम टीचर तक जा सकते हैं, स्टूडेंट तक जा सकते हैं, क्योंकि एआई इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम माय ओपिनियन, एंड सिटी computational thinking is also important. Computational thinking is the foundation of AI, and because of this, as per NEP 2020 vision, uh, various curricular goals, competencies, c- basic of computational thinking is already built in that competencies. Iteration, which is the prerequisite of computational thinking and artificial intelligence. बट सिलेबस बनाते समय हमें ये सोचना पड़ता है कि टीचर कैसे इसे पढ़ा सकेंगे। आइटरेशन पढ़ाना है, लेकिन आइटरेशन के लिए उनकी कैपेसिटी बिल्ड हम कैसे करें, कोडिंग पढ़ाना है, अल्गोरिदम थिंकिंग पढ़ाना है, लेकिन क्या कर सकते हैं इसके लिए, और उसी हिसाब से वो सिलेबस फ्रेमवर्क हो जाता है। हमने फर्स्ट जो ट्राई किया, या फर्स्ट जादुई गणित मैथ्स के लिए एक बुक बनाई, और बेब्रास इंस्टीट्यूट ने उसमें हमें हेल्प की कि एक्चुअली कोडिंग हम कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग की जब बात करते हैं तो कॉम्पिटिशनल वर्ड इटसेल्फ बिल्ट की कंप्यूटर, लेकिन आपको पता चला होगा कि कल से या आप इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में पार्टिसिपेट हो रहे हैं तो कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग इज नॉट ओनली रिलेटेड विद द कंप्यूटर। तो हम कैसे लॉजिकली थिंक कर सकते हैं, हम बच्चों को कैसे पैटर्न रिकॉग्निशन बता सकते हैं, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट थिंकिंग क्या है, हम अल्गोरिदम थिंकिंग कैसे कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि रियल लाइफ वर्ड्स में अगर डिसीजन लेते समय रियल वर्ल्ड लाइफ से अगर हम कनेक्ट नहीं करें तो एज अ गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर हम फेल होंगे, क्योंकि हमें वही सोचना पड़ता है, कोई भी डिसीजन, कोई भी डायरेक्शन। सर ने जैसे बताया अभी, जो भी पैनलिस्ट हमें बता रहे हैं कि कैसे एआई और सीटी स्कूल में वर्क करेंगे, टीचिंग और लर्निंग कैसे डिफरेंट है, टीचर कैसे टीच करते हैं और बच्चे कैसे लर्न करते हैं, क्योंकि टीचर की कैपेसिटी पर ऊपर वो डिपेंडेंट है, बच्चों तक क्या जाना चाहिए। गवर्नमेंट ने इसलिए एनईपी 2020 के बाद सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने भी एनडीईएआर नेशनल डिजिटल एजुकेशन आर्किटेक्चर 2021 में गाइडलाइंस निकाली है। उस गाइडलाइंस के हिसाब से 5 स्टेक होल्डर्स जो भी रिलेटेड टू स्कूल है, टीचर्स है, पेरेंट्स है, स्टूडेंट्स है, और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव और अदर एनजीओज, तो सबके लिए एक गाइडलाइंस बनाई हुई है, और उस जो स्टैंडर्ड्स है और जो नॉर्म्स है, ये नॉर्म्स के ऊपर काम करना जरूरी है, क्योंकि बच्चों के लिए अगर स्क्रीनिंग टाइम भी हो तो किस तरह से दिया जाए, और ये गाइडलाइन हमें फॉलो करनी पड़ती है, उसी हिसाब से वो करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क में, सिलेबस मेकिंग में, टेक्स्ट बुक डेवलपमेंट में वो बनानी पड़ती है। कौन से लेवल पे हमें एआई इंट्रोड्यूस करना चाहिए, तो माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन इज दैट देयर आर 3 लेवल्स: अवेयरनेस लेवल, एक्सप्लोरेटरी लेवल एंड एप्लीकेशन लेवल। अवेयरनेस लेवल कब होनी चाहिए, तो फ्रॉम स्टैंडर्ड 6 फॉर एआई के लिए, मैं नॉट सिटी के लिए नहीं बोल रही हूँ, सिटी तो फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड से स्टार्ट हो सकती है, लेकिन उसके डिफरेंट व्यू हो सकते हैं। अगर कोई भी एक आपको एग्जांपल देते हो कि कोई भी चीज है, उसे अलग अलग डायमेंशन से हम देख के, यहाँ पर ये बोर्ड है, हम फ्रंट व्यू से देख के, साइड व्यू से देख के, टॉप व्यू होता है और बैक व्यू होता है, लेकिन वो उसका पिक्चर अलग देखेगा। दिस इज द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग। हमारा वो व्यू क्या है, बच्चों को हम मैपिंग सिखाते हैं, मेरे राइट साइड में कौन बैठा है, मेरे लेफ्ट साइड में कौन बैठा है. दिस इज द प्रोसेस ऑफ थिंकिंग, कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग. दिस इज द बेस. कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग ए फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड से भी स्टार्ट हो सकता है, लेकिन वो टीचर के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है, ट्रेनिंग के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है. एज अ गवर्नमेंट हमें सोचना पड़ेगा कि ये थिंकिंग प्रोसेस टीचर में लाने के लिए हमें क्या करना चाहिए. सिर्फ कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग वो 6 स्टैंडर्ड से 9 स्टैंडर्ड से स्टार्ट हो सकती है, वो नहीं है. फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड से भी स्टार्ट हो सकते हैं, लेकिन एआई अगर हमें इंट्रोड्यूस करना है तो एआई का यूज हमें 6 स्टैंडर्ड से करना चाहिए. ऐसा मैं सोच रही हूँ, ये मेरी धारणा है. 6 to 8 स्टैंडर्ड्स हम अगर उसे जैसे हम बोल रहे हैं कि अवेयरनेस लेवल पे उसे इंट्रोड्यूस करें. गेमिफिकेशन क्या है, गेमिंग क्या है, उसके इथिक्स क्या है, ऐसे अगर हम इंट्रोड्यूस करते जाए और स्टूडेंट्स को व्हाई एंड हाउ, जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल ऑपरेशंस है वो हमें क्यों यूज, म्हणजे रॅदर यूज कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग, यूज आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस rather than टेक्नोलॉजिकल ऑपरेशंस. जब बच्चे वो सोचे कि हम क्यों चाहते हैं ये टेक्नोलॉजी, हम क्यों यूज करें, हाउ एंड व्हाई, अगर इनका आंसर स्टूडेंट को मिल जाए, टीचर को मिल जाए, तभी उसका इफेक्ट हमें दिखेगा. नहीं तो टीचर का जो ग्रोथ माइंडसेट है, दो तरह के माइंडसेट होते हैं, एक फिक्स्ड माइंडसेट और ग्रोथ माइंडसेट. अगर हम ग्रोथ माइंडसेट के बारे में ही ज्यादा डिस्कस करें तो अच्छा है, क्योंकि आज एआई ड्राइवन वर्ल्ड है, एआई बज वर्ल्ड है, कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग वर्ल्ड आ चुका है, और हमारे करिकुलम में, सिलेबस में ये वर्ड ऑलरेडी आ चुका है. 6 to 8 स्टैंडर्ड में हमें आइटरेशन, कोडिंग, ऐसे कॉम्पिटेंसीज दी गई है. उस हिसाब से सिलेबस तो बनाना ही पड़ेगा, लेकिन वो सोचने की ये जो थिंकिंग प्रोसेस है वो बदलनी पड़ेगी, और उस हिसाब से वो पॉलिसी में लाना पड़ेगा, सिलेबस बनाते समय, टेक्स्ट बुक बनाते समय. और इंटीग्रेटेड मैनर में जब सर ने पूछा कि एआई और सिटी हम इंटीग्रेटेड एज अ सेपरेट सब्जेक्ट पढ़ा सकते हैं क्या, सकते हैं क्या, तो मेरा आंसर यही होगा कि एआई एंड सिटी ये इंटीग्रेटेड मैनर में पढ़ानी चाहिए, क्योंकि दिस इज द ब्लेंडेड अप्रोच ऑफ एनईपी 2020 एंड मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी फ्लेक्सिबल मैनर. अगर इंटीग्रेटेड मैनर में हो तो वो अच्छा होगा, क्योंकि लॉजिकल उसका आंसर उसे मिलेगा. आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस क्यों पढ़ाना है, उसका लॉजिकल आंसर उसे कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग से मिलेगा. इसलिए दिस टू सब्जेक्ट्स एआई एंड सिटी आर शुड बी इन एन इंटीग्रेटेड मैनर. और जो भी करिकुलम के ऑब्जेक्टिव होते हैं, जो जिसे हम लर्निंग स्टैंडर्ड बोलते हैं, क्योंकि लर्निंग स्टैंडर्ड है, करिकुलर गोल्स है, लर्निंग आउटकम्स है, कॉम्पिटेंसीज है, ये सब अचीव करने के लिए, और हम 21st सेंचुरी स्किल के बारे में बोलते हैं, डिजिटल सिटीजनशिप के बारे में बोलते हैं. व्हाट इज मीन बाय डिजिटल सिटीजनशिप, जो भी हमारा एआई का, एआई और सिटी के बारे में हमने जो भी पढ़ा है उसका यूटिलाइजेशन हम प्रॉपर करें. एक ह्यूटागॉगी टर्म है, ह्यूटागॉगी मीन्स टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज लेकिन इन प्रॉपर मैनर एंड इन प्रॉपर प्लेस, that is called as heutagogy. Because technology तो आ गई, technology in education, technology of education, these are the two different terms. And as a government officer, we are thinking about these minute but very meant words and thinking about that. And our teachers will be the मेन सेंटर रोल, मेन रोल टीचर का ही है, क्योंकि हम कागज पर वो लाते हैं, लेकिन एक्चुअली जो क्लासरूम में एग्जीक्यूट होता है वो टीचर के थ्रू ही होता है. इसलिए टीचर हमारे लिए मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि उनका ही माइंडसेट और उनकी कैपेसिटी बिल्ड की जिम्मेदारी भी गवर्नमेंट की है. उस हिसाब से वो ट्रेनिंग स्किल वाइज अगर हम इम्प्लीमेंट करें तो इसका रिजल्ट अच्छा ही दिखेगा, ये मुझे विश्वास है. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think this emphasis that Manisha brought in, that we have to think about scale. I think this is very, very important in this country. There is a lot that is possible in a single school, maybe in some small this thing, but the problems are big, and it's very difficult to do anything in a small scale here anyway, because whatever you have, there is a large system impacting you. And so I think the problem of scale is something really huge in this country to think about. Everything that we talk about, how does it really scale up? And also, um, I think here, large number of people present are from private schools, but in government schools and in the government system, the reality working with that, I think these are very important issues. And Manish has brought up many of the issues that where even if there is conceptual clarity, implementation, the challenges of implementation and changing the system are something that she has underlined. Thank you very much. So we'll now have a short round of panelists responding to others. So let's start again with Ajinkya.
Thank you, Jam. I very well agree with what Arpita ji said, that a group of four is an ideal setup that we can pick it up. And what Anay rightly quoted is a complex problem that we are all going through in a simple code that you will get what you measure. So I think the points which Arpita ji and Anay said and Manisha ma'am said, and what I feel can be an approach for all of us, which we can expand with your opinions and questions also down the line is, so CT can stay in primary level or grades as it is. And for teachers, we can have a module which has two approach. One approach is how to actually use AI, and another approach is how AI actually works. Knowing only one would not suffice. I agree with Arpita ji. And for students, self learning is a big time risk which is coming up. So if a student doesn't understand a concept, 10 years back he would come again to teacher or to go to parent and ask, but now they know what to do. They open up Gemini, Chat GPT, or even the WhatsApp Meta answers to them nowadays. So there can be something very extensively as a pedagogy training. We cannot definitely have a separate subject as a mandate for all the schools. It's not possible for all of us. But what we can look at, what I personally feel is, we can have a serious relook at IT curriculum, and maybe now it's a time that we shift from IT to AI and IT, or AI where IT becomes integral, and we start giving students exposure to what AI can do and how AI works little early from grade 6. I think this can be an approach with a two-prong method wherein we have extensive training for teachers, as well as we gamify for students, so that the excitement is created, which then later translates into curiosity. And by the time they reaches grade 10, 12, they also have ability to understand the limitation biasness of AI, wherein we can have a balanced approach. That would what I feel.
I haven't really entirely disagreed with anyone, so I don't have anything to counter. Everybody, I mean, there's so much to talk about it that, and it's also kind of getting beaten to death in all the different conferences that happen. One thing that I do feel from all the general concerns that are coming up, and some of them that did come up here as well, is maybe you guys being the people who handle work with computers more than the other people in your organization. Maybe you can set up presentations for the rest of the teachers showing them how AI works and telling them that the kids are faster than them. You remember in COVID, when everybody went online, it was the students' playing ground. Teachers were struggling to figure it out. Kids could do all sorts of things and figure it out. Half the time, how the good intention students were helping the teachers, the other ones were pulling a fast one on right from attendance and everything. So this is something that the younger brains are better at using than our older ones. But maybe you can show teachers, the rest of the school teachers, as to how it works. And then the problem that did come up in the panel is the homework and all that stuff that the kids do which they definitely very easily can just even take a picture and upload it and say, hey, ChatGPT or someone solve this for me. So maybe showing the teachers how easily it happens and asking them also to rethink their assignments a little. And then as a collaborative effort, maybe the integration, maybe even if it is not direct integration, at least uh, things that no longer make sense in homework can be eliminated and some different things can start coming in. There you can create room, and some of the assignments can be made in such a way that accept that they are going to use AI and then design the homework assignments. So using AI can come through your integrated approach somewhat, and teaching the logic and thought process and building something that in a way like AI would think is something that can happen in the computational thinking class is what I feel could work out as a gradual evolved thing across subjects.
Um, again, not disagreeing with anyone. As I said, this is just a new field, right? We just have a lot of experiences, personal as well as what we are seeing around, and we are talking from that. There were two mentions that did come about, as what Dr. Arpita mentioned at the beginning, is AI at its core, even though it looks simple, it is driven by a huge amount of mathematics, right? Again, we can come down at a very level and say it is driven by something called as a linear algebra. So if you are teaching algebra in mathematics, you can say that, algebra doesn't tell you how to find X. If done quick enough, it can also write those letters for you. Right? So there is a relation which is going on between what we are teaching, the basic simple mathematics in school, to what is powering all these systems all together. Just that the computers can do a lot of those equations in a rapid amount of time. That's why it looks magical. Um, but when it does a lot of those things together, we don't have infinite memory, infinite capacity. It has to stop at some point. It has to base its responses on something else. And that is exactly where the biases come into picture, right? Which is what I am generally more concerned about when we are trying to do this. Um, the general example would be if you are trying to, if you, there are generative AIs, right, that can draw pictures, right? If you ask, if a child goes and is given a assignment, right, create a picture of a clock that shows 3:15 p.m. Right? The child tries to use a AI. Most probably, what is going to happen? Probably some of you can try this out as well. If you ask it to draw a clock at 3:15 p.m., there is a high chance that it will draw a clock at 10:10. Right? Again, why? Because most of the images online on the watch and the clock is having 10:10 on it. Right? So that is what just can't figure out what means what. Obviously, it will improve over the time, but this is how the biases are. Those biases get serious when we talk about various aspects like skin color, gender, and how those things are supposed to be, right? Obviously, a lot of people are trying to optimize their training things based on these biases, but systems are available, right? And all biases are not handled. Um, when we used to make it clear, right? Humans have something called as cognitive biases, and we have not. I don't think we are teaching that in schools to children, right? Now we have AI biases on top of that. So first we have to fix our own biases. For that, I need to know what biases I can have subconsciously, and then I also need to know, okay, what biases AI can create. The next big problem that can come into is hallucinations, right? If you are really trying to write something, official letter to someone, and AI hallucinates and gives some reference to a document which doesn't exist. So if you are creating some letter, right? If you are responding to a government office and you want to refer to some previous circular or something, just make sure that the letter you have got has the correct, reference number on it. But yes, the biggest topic is a scale. And I have experience of working with teachers. My wife is a teacher. My father used to be a teacher. And what they don't have is time, right? They are first of all trying to teach something in the class, whatever time is given. To a latest extent, now they have been told what they should cover, week by week. On top, lesson plans like week by week, and they are trying to make that possible in all challenging complications. On top of that, they have those additional, do this document, do that document, submit this data, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that should not be done, but my general question is, where is the time, right? And on top of that, now we are saying, you know what? Now you need to learn AI when none of the industry experts are themselves aware what the AI is going to do, right? So but the fact being AI is going to be there. It's just that, in all these challenging environments, how do we fix it? How do we find the time? That is also going to be part of the scalability issues that we discussed, right? So yes, maybe some of you, all of you, if you're doing some experiments from your own side, and if you can share them openly, we did this worked well. Somebody can say, you know what, we tried to do it in this way with the students, and students are responding to it very well. They were like in one of the remote villages, right? When people try to learn English, what is the problem with them is that there is nobody with them who can talk to them in English, right? Maybe ChatGPT can solve that problem. And this could be an interesting experiment, right? Which probably some of us can try. If it works well, yeah, we have a data point for it, right? And that's how we can get going about it while solving a real problem without really making it an issue. One interesting point before I just end, right, I'll mention is when we did the CARES curriculum in the sixth standard, we introduced something called as Discord or WhatsApp, like, something like those. Why? Because we wanted to introduce the idea of communities where students can then go and connect with experts and find the help on certain matter without having to disturb the teacher. That part of the curriculum got stripped off because this is the concern which came, right? That parents would complain that the students are chatting, right? And now we are talking about AI, which I believe is much, much more riskier and unknown field than having a WhatsApp or a Discord on your phone. But that has got integrated with the curriculum. Yeah, because everybody wants it. So somewhere down the line, right? Yeah, we are dealing with a lot of hype. We are dealing with a lot of things which parents believe. We are seeing a lot of things which people think, oh, you know what, this is important, right? So have that. We see Discord and ChatGPT as merely chatting tools, but AI is something which is more safer. Yeah, just a normal perception, but yes, those things exist. So deal with our own biases. We have to deal with our own biases. We have to deal with biases with AI and its own hallucinations, and also the perception of people.
थैंक यू एवरीवन. आई ऑल्सो नॉट डिसएग्री विथ एनीवन बिकॉज जो भी रोल वो प्ले कर रहे हैं उनके हिसाब से जो भी एक्सपीरियंस है, एग्जांपल है, हर एक ने अपने एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में बताया. मैं इतना ही बताना चाहूंगी कि जो मैथ्स करिकुलम बन रहा है तो उसमें दो नए कंसेप्ट आ चुके हैं, जैसे कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग रिलेटेड नजरी नक्शा. नजरी नक्शा मीन्स क्या है? हम जो मेंटल मैपिंग करते हैं तो मेंटल मैपिंग के बारे में कैसे सोचते हैं, हर एक बच्चा अलग तरह से उसे कैसे सोचता है. अगर स्कूल से मुझे घर जाना है, घर से स्कूल जाना है, तो उसी समय जाते समय मैं क्या सोचूंगी, कहाँ से कहाँ जाना है, कहाँ जाना अच्छा होगा, कैसे जल्दी पहुंच सकती हूँ. ये जो थिंकिंग हो रहा है तो वो भी एक अल्गोरिदम थिंकिंग है. कोई भी रियल लाइफ में हमारा रियल लाइफ में कोई भी सिचुएशन हो तो हर एक, अगर पढ़े हुए हो या ना पढ़े हुए हो, हमारे पेरेंट्स के बारे में सोचिए, नाना नानी के बारे में सोचिए, किसी के बारे में आप सोचेंगे तो ज्यादा पढ़े हुए नहीं है. और एक रिसर्च सर्वे भी आया था कि जो बच्चा स्कूल में नहीं गया लेकिन मार्केट में बेच रहा है तो उसकी मैथमेटिकल कैपेसिटी अच्छी है. तो वो रिसर्च सर्वे क्या दिखाता है? स्कूल में जाना, स्कूल बंद करने चाहिए क्या? नहीं, स्कूल इज द एक सिस्टम है स्कूल में जो फॉर्मल एजुकेशन मिलेगी, लेकिन इसका मतलब क्या है? तो हमें उसके ऊपर थिंक करना पड़ेगा कि उसकी मैथमेटिकल कैपेसिटी क्यों बढ़ चुकी है. ये इसके नजरी नक्शा और एक फ्रैक्टल ज्योमेट्री. तो एआई रिलेटेड टू फ्रैक्टल ज्योमेट्री हमें पढ़ाने हैं. हम भी हमारा भी एमएससी जूलॉजी मेरा हो गया और अभी मैं मैथ्स डिपार्टमेंट हेड कर रही हूँ. लेकिन ये फ्रैक्टल ज्योमेट्री क्या है पता है, लेकिन उसकी कंसेप्ट जानने के लिए एआई का यूज हो. कि क्या है एक्चुअली फ्रैक्टल ज्योमेट्री। जो भी हम वनस्पति में या जो प्लांट्स में दिखती है उसकी अलाइनमेंट कैसी होती है, जो भी हमारे एनिमल्स है उसमें उसकी अलाइनमेंट कैसी होती है, तो इस हिसाब से उसे देखना पड़ता है। और नए जो भी कंसेप्ट आ चुके हैं उस कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी के लिए एआई भी जरूरी है और कॉम्पिटिशनल थिंकिंग भी जरूरी है। और लास्ट में एक मैं सेंटेंस कहना चाहूंगी कि टेक्नोलॉजी आर बैड स्लेवर्स बट, या टेक्नोलॉजी आर गुड स्लेवर्स, टेक्नोलॉजी आर गुड स्लेवर्स बट बैड टास्क मास्टर्स। तो हमें ये सेंटेंस ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि टेक्नोलॉजी है किसके लिए, हम टास्क मास्टर बने या हम उसके स्लेवर्स बने। यही हर एक सिटीजन या हर एक नागरिक सोचेगा तो उसका इम्पैक्ट अच्छा ही होगा और इस एआई ड्राइवन वर्ल्ड में हम टिक सकेंगे। और इंडिया को हम फर्स्ट नंबर में ले जाना चाहते हैं तो हमारा वो इंटेंशन भी अचीव हो जाएगा। इतना ही, थैंक यू।
Thank you, Manish. So let me thank all the panelists for very, very invigorating discussion. And before I open it up to this, I want to pose a couple of more questions to add to the thing. Firstly, since everybody said nobody can disagree with anything, I thought I should disagree with something so that some, go on. What kind of a panel is it if people are not fighting with each other, right? Okay. So I thought, I should pose throw a spanner into the works, right? So the thing is that, of course, the program chairs were very careful. They didn't want me to give a talk on this. That's why they made me, chair of the panel so that I shut up and let others speak. But let me not resist, so I'll add one point at least. See, there has been a tradition in education that what goes into school education is something on which there is social consensus, right? Um, it's unless it's a compulsory subject for everybody that everyone should this thing, we don't bring it into school. So when for instance, computing, right? Computing started in the university and it started off as for some people. And at some point, university education, higher education, it was a consensus that everybody needs to learn computing. And computing was made compulsory for all students getting into higher education. And then it came to schools. And then it came to schools in a way that we said, oh my God, then it's not even doing that. And then we, all this computational thinking in schools we are doing. AI is not a compulsory subject in the university yet. It's not something that IISER Pune, Amit, is IISER Pune having AI as a core curriculum for all students? No. I don't know, so yesterday we heard all this presentation, but in the UK, no University of Cambridge does not have AI as core for all its undergraduate students. So what's the hurry to bring it into schools? So traditionally we have, I'm not saying we should only follow tradition, we can do new things, but we have not brought anything into school education until it has become common in university education. That has been a practice, and I think there is a certain conservatism to that, so that we get children are something else, right? So why not start at the university, understand the whole thing, and with undergrad, I'm teaching undergraduate students, and many of these things that we talked about, grappling every day with designing assessments where that students are going to use AI. How do you do all that? The difficulties are immense, and universities are going through a churn dealing with AI tools. And teaching AI, computer science departments are having enormous trouble teaching AI to students and doing precisely the kind of difficulties that Arpita was pointing out. Use of AI is different from internals of AI. AI is changing a lot. By the way, even the thing that you said about 20,000 dogs and so on, the way of training has changed. Transformer architecture is changing all these things. So even what is neural networks, how they're done is changing. So universities are still grappling with it. What's the hurry for schools, right? So let me just pose that. So as I said, not only for the panel, but for everyone to also respond to. And yeah, so let's have questions. And if you want to address questions specifically for some particular panelists, that's fine, or to pose in general, that's fine as well. Comments, clarifications, questions, all are welcome.
So I guess I'm just going to agree with Jam, and that's all. But effectively, in the following sense, I do not think of AI as a subject yet. It's a tool. It's a tool that is very powerful. I get a lot of flack from a lot of colleagues for saying that AI is not a subject, because there are departments of AI in various universities and so on and so forth. So, of course, their existential crisis comes to fore. But at least it's definitely a tool. That's one thing. That should be exposed to the students, because they simply cannot escape it, unfortunately. And that's the difference, for example, between AI currently and how many other subjects began. So I think I agree with Jam that we should wait for AI to become a subject as academics to as a sort of say well-studied academic subject. Until then, what needs to be done is to tell the students what the limitations and the uses of AI are, all aspects of it, powerful, ethical. There's a whole bunch of things that we can talk about. So the other aspect is that large, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how it is, but compared to many other tools, this is one of the one of the sorts of topics or subjects or whatever you want to call it, that has been developed almost exclusively in commercial domain as opposed to academic domain. And that has its own really different implications than, for example, how computer science was developed in universities. AI is developed by companies. And I think that just throws off so the whole discussion into a direction that it should not really go into in terms of education. But and there's a lot to discuss about why that happens. But anyway, so I think those are the two main points.
Yeah, so I also disagree with the idea that teaching AI at schools. See, the thing is, it will be more like some of my concerns and some suggestions. So rather than see what is about, like, if we think about, like Madam said, teaching AI, so it requires strong computational skills. I am not just talking about computational thinking, the proper computational skills we need, and yeah, some good level of mathematics. I don't think so students have very good idea about linear algebra, even if they have introduced in schools of those techniques. So rather than that, what we can do is just introduce AI with these, like a social science subject, like uh, pros and cons, and like what we should do, because using AI, I don't think so it's a very big deal. Okay, I have a problem, I will just type it and search. I mean, what's the big deal about it? So rather than that, we can tell them, actually educate them about, like, okay, not to fall in love with an AI entity. And another and improve on the computational, computation based subject. Like, I don't know about these days, but at my time in my school, I was in Kendra Vidyalaya, there was no exam on computers and nothing we used to do in computer class. Just it was a like fun class. Okay, yeah, I will keep limited. And one more thing is, like, we should not, I think, remove the fact, like quadratic equation. So solving more problems is important, because everyone has different level of, something God-given intelligence factor. So yeah, we can do better. So that's why there are more problems. So we should not, I think, disturb that. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Good morning and namaste, sir and ma'am. My name is Namita Pradhan. I am from Odisha. I am an education officer in Odisha government. I want to share something about computational thinking in school. as I am working as a principal in school, uh, computational thinking is related to all the subjects. So in government of Odisha school and mass education in cooperation with SCRT Odisha, the computational thinking in different subjects has been divided into four categories. Computational thinking in literature subject in Odisha, that is known as Sahitya Srujani, means innovation in literature. In mathematics, that is called as Koshali, means skill part. And in science, computational thinking is called as innovation. Then in social science also, Kridangana, social science and games, that has been called as Kridangana. So as computational thinking was initially taken as part of co-curricular activities initially from 2020 to 23, after the acceptance of teachers from all the government school, that has been taken as integrated part in core curriculum along with the textbook. 20% syllabus of related to computational thinking has been taken, and combinedly that has been taken for 9th and 10th initially, and from board exam also 20% subject, 20% parts has been taken from computational thinking. And after this, that has been taken to class 6, 7, 8 level from this session. So I think this should not be taken as a separate subject, or not compulsorily, but that should be integrated along with the school subjects. Thank you.
Before we move on, I want to add to what Jam said. So I think Jam is finding more support in the audience. So I would like to add one concern. See, I completely agree with the statement that you made that the subject knowledge should come at school level when it becomes absolute necessary and need at the larger level. But at the same time, AI is like a open field with no rules right now. And if we don't sensitize the students at right age, then we might get a generation who would have a thinking pattern developed which is slightly flawed. So just to put it in an example, when we got phones which can store numbers, we stopped memorizing the numbers. When we got GPS, we stopped remembering the roads. Now the thing is, even in cities where we have been living from 2 3 decades, we use GPS. Over dependency. So if we don't create right boundaries, we may get students with flawed thinking pattern, and I think that's a bigger concern to address rather than having AI in education. And with that two context, I think controlled exposure to AI, of course, the degree can vary, like ma'am said, the 20% here and there. Degree of exposure can vary, but I believe there is all definite need of having a controlled exposure and teaching on AI. Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I just I just have a question, and it's from a layman's perspective. That ma'am said that we have to be the task masters, not the slave. Okay, but they're children. Okay, they don't know what is good for them, what is not, and how they will they can be controlled and all. So if the AI is in their hand, the Google, the Chat GPT, everything, how they know that what things is ethical and they should use or they should not, and how this will help them to think creatively at a very early age. If they are exposed to this AI, they're not thinking or they are not doing anything by their own. They just want to refer everything, from they get everything from the AI. So in that case, in our generation, we are not exposed to these things. Now we have to think about this, and we, after thinking, we do the thing. Then how can be this can be solved through this AI, and how this will help the children to think creatively?
Yeah, yeah, so I think kind of what Ajinkya was saying, that yeah, I understand that we need a kind of a control environment, and kind of we need to expose people to all of those, and there's a need of also a critical part of each of those. But why do you need a separate curriculum for this, right? Shouldn't you also kind of, I'm saying that, isn't it this control environment is required for the other subject domains as well, right? And shouldn't we kind of think about that? We start talking having an AI curriculum, we start having an teaching Excel and another IT curriculum one. There are n number of curriculums that can come on to the schools and that are coming in, right? shouldn't I think of that? How do you kind of integrate those tools into our on those interventions in our across the subject domains or in our pedagogic interventions, right? Rather than, or else it's kind of the still the we having the AI sitting in those silos, right? Or those any of those tools sitting in silos, but we do not find those integrations across those domains, right? So yeah.
I have two perspectives. The first perspective is that NEP now says that ICT is no more a separate subject, right? As per NEP, it's part of the existing curriculum. So that clearly says from NEP's point of view that there are only now this set of 7 or 8 curricular areas, and there is nothing called as ICT anymore. It's integrated into the existing curriculum. And the second aspect that I want to say is that there is so much buzz, so much knowledge being created. Some evangelists will say now financial inclusion should be taught in schools. Somebody will say computational thinking has to be. There are so many topics that are getting added in this complex world, and everybody is advocating that it should be taught to the children. It's right. But if you see the perspective of the teacher who has a fixed amount of time, as Anai said, where does it get included into? Which subject do you decrease or do you add to the burden of the teachers? So these two perspectives I wanted to place before the committee.
Uh, I won't take much of time, sir. I have just two questions. Just as for now, as we see that AI tools that are developed as for now that we use like ChatGPT or Gemini, they are of Western developers and are set with a Western perspective. And we know that in our schooling system, we have it children from various traditions and various diverse backgrounds. So how can you make sure that they're with the biased nature of the AI system, that their non-Western culture will not be influenced by the answers or that we get from the new tools, AI tools that we used. And my second question is regarding the teachers, that with the pace that AI is growing, no doubt that AI has a potential to change the learning outcome of the student, but with the pace it is growing, don't you think that it is diminishing the authority of the teacher in the classroom? Or some way with the pace it is going, somewhere teachers are feeling less relevant, their credibility is somewhat questioned when it comes to the use of AI in such a pace. So I want that what measures that we should have to take in order to strike the balance that teachers should be seen as a not should be seen as a dispenser of information, but should be also seen as a facilitators of learning. So what measures should we take for those? So these two questions. Thank you.
Um, I feel AI, the learning pattern or the teaching pattern of the teachers have evolved with time. Earlier, it was like chalk and blackboard. Now it has turned to smart boards. So I think we should look at AI as a tool for the teachers to enhance their teaching learning methodology. Earlier, like when we were in schools, there was no concept of teaching aids. Teaching aid was our textbook, and typically who all were auditory learners, they learned better. But now with the changing scenario, now we do know that there are 9 types of learners, and we need to have inclusive classrooms, and we should have everything for them. And this AI, with the help of AI, we are able to give all these things to the children. So instead of looking at AI as a threat, we should use AI as a tool. We can also have customized videos for the children who learn better seeing the videos, or watching some things, or listening to some things. So I feel rather than looking at AI as a threat, can uh, can that be replaceable? Of course, teachers cannot be replaced in any scenario, because now the children know, they have the whole spectrum. But what to see, the teacher tells. Am I at this end of the spectrum, or at that end? The child is not able to figure out. There the teacher is the facilitator for the AI. It's what I feel.
Hi, I and my colleague are from Educational Initiatives, and we found ourselves agreeing very strongly with the panelists because we feel there is an urgency to teach AI to kids now because it's democratized creating stuff. You can create, previously, you'd go to a website developer, but now you can do it yourself, creating images, creating videos, creating code without really knowing the programming language, planning stuff, creating a weekly schedule for yourself, custom to that child. And as a maybe 12, 13-year old, if you told me you wait till that senior of yours in undergrad uses it and tells you this is okay for you to use, I'll be a kyun bhai, why can't I do it now? And we've seen like definite pluses to it even with the uncertainty. Like we are big fans of the PHET simulations that a teacher yesterday spoke about. That's fabulous. But there's so much more the teacher themselves and the students themselves can also simulate, right? Like you can simulate a small, disease spread in a sample, or a predator prey relationship, or the 100 door puzzle that we were discussing. So these are things the child or the teacher can run. So there are definite pluses. Perhaps if you probably add that layer of, like you said, caution or layer of education on it. My question simply was because we see the CS classroom kind of changing so quickly. We have a lot of empathy for teachers who teach CS, computer science, for grades 6 to 9. You guys are amazing. So, how do you maybe see the CS classroom bearing more of the burden or bringing thinking back to the CS class in an era where CT and AI need to maybe be delved into deeper? Thank you.
I'm Umanath from Chennai. I work in IT for the past 20 years, but I write for children also, and also contributing for some educational aspects in Tamil Nadu. So first thing is about Jam's idea of not bringing AI into schools so early. So historically, when you see whichever technology or new thing that is coming, it is brought, it is once it is in the common people, only then it is acknowledged. For example, radio took around 25 years for a common people to access. TV took around 10 to 15 years. Computers took 10 years. Internet took 5 years. But this AI, generative AI, specifically, I think everybody are talking about generative AI. AI has been there for around 50 years, but generative AI had been just in, say, less than a year or two, you can say that way. So it is changing life. So the first point is it has to be brought into the school in some other format. What I foresee is uh, this, like integrating ICT inside each and every subject, each and every subject syllabus, teaching, assessment will be relooked within few years with inclusion of AI into the system. The assessment will definitely change a lot. The textbook will be changing. In fact, the teaching methodology will go a rapid change. Uh, so it is like, again, it is not a technology. Like I see that many are still seeing AI as a extended search engine. It is definitely not an extended search engine. It is more than that. The students have started using effectively. The teachers are still reluctant or resistant towards using AI and the power of AI. One friend asked whether teachers' respect will be gone. Definitely, it will be a toss until and unless you don't understand the power of AI. And the most important thing is during every era, the purpose of education, or it was a teacher-centric class. Now we have slowly shifted towards child-centric classrooms. In that case, definitely there will be more concentration on how the children are going to learn.
rather than what the children were going to learn was last era's, last century's point. Now, how the children are going to learn. So in that sense, AI will definitely make a larger sense. Uh, and also how it is going to impact each and every corner of this education is very, very important, I think. It is going to impact a huge sense in teacher perspective, as well as every corner of the education what we are going to speak. Uh, there is also a perception like we are more technology dependent. Like when phone came, we lost memorizing the numbers, or GPS came, we lost the routes. Uh, the other question is, why should we remember everything? We have a lot other more things to where we can explore. So technology is always handy, and it doesn't mean we are going to become lazy. We explore the other areas where a human can make it life simplifying. We can concentrate on those areas. Thank you.
So, one second. Okay.
Good morning. Myself, Pritikona. I just want to say why the creator himself is scared of creation. Means AI is the creation of the human being only, na? Why we are scared of using AI as tool? Every coin have two aspects. Every coin have a good side and a bad side. Okay, why we are focusing on only the bad side of AI? If we are not going to give the access to AI, is it possible that it will work for us personally? If a doctor wants to operate a person, he can only dialyze, or he can only get the reports from the AI. The human touch will never discriminated, or the human touch will never be eliminated from that person, that position, na? That a doctor cannot operate without his own touch. A doctor cannot give the aspects of reports in the AI, and the AI will work for him. So similarly, why the creator? We are the creator of AI. We are not the slave of AI, isn't it? So if we are teaching AI to our school, if we are teaching AI to our students, so it is going to give us a helping hand only. It is like a aid to us. If for in general, if we say, recently we had a scenario of COVID. Okay, at that time we all got touch through AI only. All of a sudden the studies and everything was stopped. But again we all analyze how we can touch with each other. We can have a continue education. How we can go for with the flow without any interruption in between. So that was my point. Thank you.
Yeah, I know there are many, many hands up still. Okay, so last two, since Dr. Revati had also been waiting and here, um, very brief, please.
Yeah. I'm Dr. Avati. I'm a teacher educator in special education. I just wanted to say a few words about teacher educators' perspective. Okay. Students are using far better than teachers. I just wanted to bring the kind notice that how many teachers knew to use AI across India. So there are different levels of schools. Government schools are there, state boards, central boards. So many schools are there. How many teachers knew that? Most of the private school teachers are using. My daughter's teachers are using that. But how they are using? They are using it as a tool, but they are not seeing. They are not critically analyzing the content what the thing is, what the AI is giving. And the teacher education curriculum is still in the same level, that is that only address the ICT tools. Now only we have shifted to smart boards, using smart boards and all, but we are not thinking about how we can use AI for our classrooms, for our non-teaching works, or any lesson planning and methodology and all. And so seeing AI content critically, that's what to be developed among teachers, using AI and seeing the content critically. Thank you.
Last word, please. Prashant.
Yeah, learning something new is not Yeah, it should be always, right? When I remember our director Ajinkya sir has brought Google Classroom into the schools in 2013, and when there was a COVID, we did not face any difficulty to set up the classrooms, and we had a wonderful Google Classrooms set up that time. So my concern is that when we are using these tools, like there are many tools, Magic School AI. Now Google Classroom has come up with Gemini and Chat GPT. But when, as a teacher, we are exploring it, when we are going it and we are looking for the certain content, so it goes to the paid version. My request is that the government has adopt certain tools and it should made it come free for the teachers. The first thing, and like in AI curriculum, I am teaching AI for standard 9th and 10th standard, and there are certain group of students. If someone is going to the in front of biometric, so how biometric is going to recognize the image, and they are very eager to know that. So there should be there are certain group. That's why government has not made it mandatory for all. It is a skill subject, so it should be there. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, sorry to conclude this discussion because I know that lots of people have lots of opinions. We would like to have a short response from the panelists once again, and then we'll wrap it up. But I want to, since I threw this panel in the works, I should also clarify that yesterday, if you saw, Jen White was talking about those three pancakes, right? One is about use of AI as tools, right? Another is AI for teaching, for teacher productivity. And the third is teaching about AI. I was only talking about teaching about AI. Of course, you cannot stop children using tools or tell them that, older people will use tools and then only, of course not. Children will use tools. And of course, teachers should use various kinds of tools for productivity. But we are talking about teaching about AI. That's what I was talking about. If teaching about AI is not something even in higher education, should we really think about that? And it's not a hypothetical question. CBSE has put out the curriculum for teaching AI, and it talks about neurons, and it is teaching about AI for classes 6 to 10. CBSE has already put out a curriculum. Tamil Nadu has put out a curriculum. Karnataka is putting out a curriculum. I've seen that. So all these are already coming out, and right now they are curricula. Tomorrow it's going to come to your classroom. So this is not something abstract. So, and they are talking about teaching about AI. It is not about use of increasing teacher productivity, getting students to use tools in a healthy fashion. We are not talking about that at all. We're talking about teaching about AI as part of the thing. So it is in this context that should we hurry was the question posed. So let's take it on.
Yes. यस यस टीचिंग अबाउट एआई के बारे में मेरा इतना ही कहना है कि एआई जरूरी है, लेकिन विद सिलेबस गवर्नमेंट का जो भी सिलेबस है मैथ्स करिकुलम रिलेटेड है तो उससे मैपिंग करके एआई आना चाहिए. हम कोडिंग बोलते हैं, लेकिन कोडिंग का अगर हम डेफिनेशन देखें तो कोडिंग इज द स्टेप बाय स्टेप इंस्ट्रक्शन टू कंप्लीट अ टास्क. वो कंप्यूटर हो या मैन ये ह्यूमन बीइंग हो, लेकिन हमें कोई भी टास्क कंप्लीट करने के लिए स्टेप बाय स्टेप इंस्ट्रक्शन देने पड़ते हैं. एंड दिस इज द मेन थिंग वी शुड कीप इन माइंड. And I only speak about you AI, teaching about AI. This is my sentence. Thank you.
I would opine on 2-3 questions put forth. So I would definitely agree when sir said that we don't need it as a separate subject. So in so far, it is properly integrated with CT and across all the subject. Of course, in some context where we can get period, sir's point was there. And with he beautifully brought up that NEP is asking no more ICT as a separate subject. And I am very hopeful and optimistic to having that slot, because having an IT period in school is something which most of the schools have judiciously planned and is already in place. So that slot still becomes available. And I'm hopeful that whoever wants to have a separate curriculum, that slot can be relooked at. And IT curriculum is something which we need to seriously relook at. My personal opinion is we are teaching very, very basic and students are picking up very, very fast. So there's a big gap. Last point when sir said that with AI coming in, will teachers lose respect and they will simply be information providers? So I think that is not the case. See, students respect their teachers and the classroom setup because of the fundamental understanding that they have that my teachers know more than me, and that's where the respect is coming from and is anchored. uh, this equation get disturbed when we look it in the context of AI, and that's why it is actually very important for teachers to get well acquainted with AI and try to have an edge over students so that the equation is maintained.
Yeah. So when we were talking about why AI in schools, right? So I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. We have to differentiate between the learning and the teaching, and then we can put this in the context. But there is a corollary, right? So robotics came first in our lives before AI in a good amount. Probably we don't realize that there is a robot, but ATM machine is a robot, right? ATM machine came in our lives much before, more than a decade ago, but we didn't include robotics in the school, did we? No, right? But now AI is coming up, and the only popular concept of AI that we know of is actually what is called as large language models, not the entire stream. And we are already talking about including it in the school, right? But there are two parts, as I was referring to. Should we teach it? This is a separate matter altogether. But can it be used to aid the education is an entirely different topic. And in that terms, it is important to know how it could be used for what purposes and how it can benefit students as well as teachers. Can it help? Obviously, it can be help. It can be of help for both of them. Exactly how, that is somewhere we need to get into details. Talking about the teacher's role, right? Whether the respect is going to be there or not, I'll just add one thing, right? If having this or having that is causing anybody's respect to degrade, I think we should collectively look at ourselves and think, did we teach the right understanding of respect? That's not what respect is, right? How do I respect my colleague? How do I respect my team member? How do I respect my fellow student? My parents is entirely separate from how competent they are with me or not, right? So there are two different things. I'll skip that part. Commercial background, yes, like everything, there is always a commercial background, but there are open source models also, which are largely driven by this. Those models are also pretty effective right now. There is Kimi 2 and all those things, which we can definitely try out. But one final thing I will end with is there was this question on quadratic equations, right? I was referring to. So I'm not saying we should take out mathematics, right? That is not what my point is. My point is students have more reason to come forward and ask the teachers, why do I need to learn this now when it can be very well done easily with AI? Right? Like for example, trigonometry used to have a very practical scale when people used to sail before GPS, right? Nowadays, it is not that case, but it is there because trigonometry has other purposes. So we should be ready as a teacher to tell the student why they should be learning this confidently and in a more practical way. That's what I was referring to. So yes, again, coming back, AI is going to be there. It's not going away. It's already there. People have seen the potential of it. Exactly how it is going to be there, what impact it is going to bring in is something we collectively need to decide about.
In private schools, whether we should teach AI or not becomes a case of FOMO. There are private agencies doing it. There are schools who subscribe to them and use it as a marketing thing. So if one school is doing it, all schools are going to do it. So I don't think any individual person is going to take that decision. It becomes an ecosystem, business driven marketing decision. The question is, what are you going to teach? It went very off track after the first one or two questions. It became a question of ethics and respect and stuff, which I think was completely beyond the scope of the panel. So, if you're going to teach how to use AI, I think the students are far better than any of us. They are using it more in quantity, they're using it more in quality. You can't teach a pupil who is better at it than you are. So, that is one thing. So basically, the logical thinking, precisely what CS Pathshala CTIS does, better logical thinking, better analysis of information that comes in front of you, sorting things out, structuring data, and all of those things, maybe level it up a little and help get them better skills that they can use in every aspect of life is, I think, what we can do and you are doing at school level. So leveling that up is one thing. The respect and everything, I mean, you have to, it's changing all kinds of jobs. So I don't think teachers are in some magical bubble or anything of the sort. So CBSE and state board mandates that X number of teachers have to be there for Y number of divisions. So everybody will still have a job. Respect is something you have to earn. You have to be better than what things all around you. Nobody else can do it for you. So you don't know what memes are going on about you even right now. The students have separate groups in which all of that is happening. AI is not going to change that. Students have opinions about people. You have opinions about others. Others are going to have opinions about you. So those are not really things that should come up in any debate, is what I feel.
Thank you. Well, let me conclude this discussion with first thanking everybody for opening up this very important topic and for us to think about. It's clear that there are many questions and for which we don't really have good answers, and it's okay to say we don't have good answers, right? But we need to explore. There are certain things that we cannot ignore, that's for sure, and therefore we are doing certain things. But we need to look at curricular objectives. We need to look at pedagogic imperatives, pedagogically what is right and what is wrong, take a call. Assessment, have a very clear understanding of assessment, because the way AI tools can change assessment in school is also very important. And for the teaching community, I think this is something to take control on. I think take control of, and I think this is very important. So I would like to end with this saying that it's clear that AI tools are here and are going to be here, and we want to use it. In fact, we have lagged behind enormously in the use of, forget AI, in simply in the use of digital tools in teaching mathematics and science and social science and these. And when we talk about society looking at AI, our social science curricula do not have discussions on technology at all, attitude to technology and these at all. So we are way behind in many things. So AI and the sudden surge is pointing to certain lapses, but I think we need to go back and look at education overall, school education in these things. And AI is one big thing that I think I'd like to end with this thought that we should seriously think about is that purpose of school education has been to understand the world, right? To the world through the word. This is how we have understood purpose of school education. And it was always, when we said the world, we meant the physical world, the natural world, the local environment, the social world. That is how school curricula are structured. And then we realized that the direct physical world is not good enough. You need abstraction. You need to look beyond that. And higher education goes way beyond that. You look at quantum mechanics, but in school you talk about classical mechanics, right? So, but then today, internet, social media, AI, all these things have brought virtual worlds into your hands, right? And into children's hands, so our understanding of the physical world, the social world, all these are actually in a flux right now. And it's true for all of us. I mean, it's not just for children, for all of us. The cognitive laziness that you're talking about is for us. If all your education has not prevented you from becoming cognitively lazy because of GPS, then how do you think that you're going to teach suddenly and children will? No, it's not like that. So our own social worlds and our presence in the worlds is actually changing. And that's something that we are relating to with children. So we need to relate to children, their worlds and our worlds, and interact with that. And that's always been the purpose of education. There is no problem with all that. It's just that when AI suddenly walks into the thing, takes over, and like I said, AI curriculum is suddenly being, CBSE has put out this, and state boards are putting out these things. So we need to question, and it's going to come to computing education as the burden of taking this forward. So it's one thing to talk about it for our own teachers' own things and teacher preparation, and we do not have much experience in technology assessment. Let's be very clear about it. When tools come as teachers, one thing is about tools, but can we really assess them and see what is good pedagogically and what is not? We don't have that strength. Teacher education doesn't give us any of that. So how do we prepare ourselves for that? I think we need to ask what are the ways in which we can prepare, what are the ways in which we can network, learn from each other, share experiences, share resources. And after all, CTIS is a community. And can we use this community building to look at these challenges that are coming up and form our own answers and get our own clarity? Thank you very much. And I think we have deserved our chai. So I think the organizers think that we deserve more than chai. So